What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Science of Flipping podcast. I am your host, Justin Colby, and as you see, I have another one of our Billionaire Boardroom Mastermind members, and I am continuing this Mastermind series. I'm bringing on all of our Billionaire Boardroom Mastermind members who are doing 7 figures plus in their business. As Kent and Sean and myself have always talked about the power of a mastermind, I thought it'd be a great idea to bring in some of these big boys who are really doing it, to introduce them to you guys, that it's not just me or Sean or Kent that are able to build a business. There are a lot of people out there that have been able to put together the right tools, the systems, implementation, hiring, and are doing it all over the country. So I'm going to continue doing this mastermind series, but before I get to introducing our guest, if this is your first time to the podcast, go over to thescienceofflipping.com. It has all of the podcast episodes, but also it has my book. It's the same best-selling book on Amazon that sells every single day called The Science of Flipping. I offer it to you guys for free as a loyal listener. Go in, download the book. It's called The Science of Flipping. It'll be absolutely free. I sell it for $10 on Amazon. It sells every day. So if you want to buy it, go for it. But otherwise, download it for free. That's my gift to you guys. I'm giving back, as I always like to do. And, you know, this is something that's important because I'm bringing on some of these people who have been doing this for a long time, but I know some of you are brand new or you haven't gotten started. So I want you to really listen to these episodes. This podcast is all about, every episode is all about the systems, the processes, the tools, implementation to build a business. That's what it's all about. To make a lifestyle by design, to create the income that you want to create so you can hang out with me and Jerry and Kent and Sean out in Cabo or Napa, or you can hang out with us down in San Diego, and you can get away from your business because you built something that moves without you being there. And so if you're just getting started, you want your first deal, this is awesome information. If you are right in the middle road, this is great. And if you're top notch, I mean, you can understand everything that you're going through. These guys are going through too. We have a mastermind for every level, right? The beginners, the people who are doing $250,000 to $500,000, and the people who are doing $1 million plus. I mean, masterminds are so important. You hear us talk about it. So I thought it would be a great idea to bring on these guys, these big hitters in the Billionaire Boardroom Mastermind, and just let them talk about what they do. Right? You've heard from me for so long, but these guys are out there doing an incredible job. And so I want to introduce you to Jerry Stevens, who is out of North Carolina. What is up, good sir? How are you?
What up? What up? Excited to be here.
Dude,
like Justin said, just got back from Cabo, so I'm super stoked. Super stoked to be here. So kind of had a great time in Cabo with these guys. Like Justin said, masterminding, and I brought that back to the team, kind of good energy, and we're hitting the ground good. So
I like it. And then I think I also sold you on going to starting CrossFit, didn't I?
Yes. I just signed up. I used to die. Justin and I, when we were at Cabo, I kind of shared my story of working out, and I just got totally burnt out. And he has convinced me to CrossFit, so I may be not liking him for the next few weeks.
And as you guys are going to hear, Jerry, he's from North Carolina. He has a little southern twang, and sometimes, when he really gets emotional, he'll speak some language to some of you that might not be so, daily in your daily lives. So you might get to hear little Jerry specials here. Bless it, Jerry. Bless it. Man, this is one of my favorite guys right here. He's built an incredible 7-figure-a-year business in North Carolina. Flipping and wholesaling and just doing it all, but he has a military background, right? He didn't come out of college and have this big business background. He had a military background, then he has a tech background, and so, I want you to tell your story, man, but I think a lot of people are going to resonate with you, especially the people who come from like the analytical side of life, the tech side, the spreadsheet side, the engineers of the world. I think they're going to really resonate with you because you are one who's been able to prove that you don't need to be the creative visionary kind of guy to really create something that can make incredible income for you. So, dude, why don't you just, start it off by just telling your story, what you do, where you're from, from military to everything else.
All right. Like Justin said, please excuse the accent or some of the verb. Anyway, yeah, like Justin said, I do have a military background. I was in the Army for 4 years, got out, went to college. I was fortunate enough to get hired by IBM. So, yes, I am an engineer by trade. About 7 years ago, kind of fell into flipping. It was a total accident. I do mentor some people in this area, and I tell them to never do what I did when I got started. I didn't educate myself initially. And I was very fortunate. That's usually not the norm. You need to be listening to these podcasts. You need to be reading Justin's books and make sure that you get yourself started. But long story short, like I said, I fell into flipping. I got lucky on my first deal, which got me hooked. And like Justin said, it didn't just happen overnight. I still had my 9 to 5. So I was working 15, 16, 17-hour days, man, to try to juggle it all. And I think that's one of my things is, A, I put in a lot of work and educated myself, and B, I do have that systems mindset. So I really started implementing systems, and the next thing I knew, like last year we did 48 homes with an average of about $47,000 per house. So that's just the flip side. Yeah. So, I mean, that's not a brag. I'm very, very fortunate. I have surrounded myself with the right people. Yeah. Not just here on the ground, but with Justin, Sean, and Kent, and everybody in the mastermind. I mean, I'm probably jumping ahead of you, Justin, but I love Justin saying, when we go to these masterminds, he says, I want 3, for me, it's getting 3 nuggets. And I tell you what, I usually get 5 or 6, and I bring those back and implement them here. And my team, they get pumped. And when I come back from these meetings, and when I'm so pumped, I'm like a kid in a candy store. Yeah. And so, yeah, I'm sorry, I kind of jumped ahead of you there, Justin, dude. But I'm still kind of, reeling from Cabo. Yeah. Some great lessons from Kent. So, plus relaxing. I mean, who can't be happy after that? So
having a couple beers, relaxing, talking business. I mean, I was telling everyone there, that's when business really gets done, right? Is we all go to these meetings and the sit down, and I had a meeting this morning with this big hedge fund group, and that's great, fine. But the majority of that meeting was BSing, right? Like, it's not just super structured. Like, we went and had breakfast. We were BSing, talking business. And that's more of where the deals get done, is when you're eating or you're having a couple cocktails or having a coffee, and that's where deals get done. And I can tell you already that 2 people from the mastermind that don't even live in Scottsdale, through their PPC, got 2 deals in Phoenix, and called me and said, hey, dude, if you get this deal done, can you throw me a 25% referral fee? I got both the deals done, and these people are making money for free because of us being in the mastermind, right? And it's a random deal came from their PPC, and just business happens that way, right?
And that's a very good point, Justin. I want to follow up on that. I've since the last mastermind, the elite and the boardroom, just from people I've met in there, anybody in this business, as you'll know, you'll get leads that are not in your market sometime. And I tell my team, as soon as we get those, throw them to me. I've got guys in the boardroom. I throw them to them, just like Justin said. I've done deals with guys in the boardroom that I've, in markets that I would have just unfortunately thrown them away. Right. So that is, that to me, it's huge, but that is like, one of the very, small items that we get from the boardroom. I've got guys, from the boardroom that I've met that we're already doing business. I mean, we're, besides just leads, we're constantly communicating, and it's amazing. What works in one area, we try it, we share it, and it's, I can't, all right, I'm going to quit trying to, I'm not here to pump the mastermind, but it has completely changed. And I want to follow back up with one thing about my story. One of the reasons I am in the mastermind, as Justin very well knows, and I started the master. I went reaching out. I reached out, got in touch with Justin, and he invited me to the mastermind. He said, "Just come." He's like, "Just come. I guarantee you'll be addicted, and you'll want to be a part of it." And he was right. Within the first 15 minutes, I was like, I'm home. I'm home. Because I started, as I said, flipping. I kind of did it backwards compared to some people, but I knew that I needed to start wholesaling because I was running across so many leads that I was throwing away because they didn't fit my flipping model.
Yeah.
So I reached out to Justin and Sean and Kent and these guys, and I knew I needed to move it to the next level, and they have definitely taken my wholesaling business to the next level. It's only helped my flipping business.
That's awesome.
Wholesaling and flipping kind of go hand in hand if you do both.
No doubt.
Absolutely.
Well, you and I started out on the same level of flipping first, right? I also started backwards. I went from flipping into wholesaling, and for me, it was because, and maybe similar to you, but flipping is great because you get bigger chunks, but those bigger chunks still come for 120 days relative to your, 14-day wholesale fee, which, yes, typically are smaller chunks, but cash is king, right? Liquidity is king. So for fix and flippers, we were always like trying to figure out to scrape together because we have this rehab and it's over budget, and we're like, oh my God, we're scraping, and all of a sudden I'm like, why don't we just go wholesale this and make 15 grand? We only need $7 more for this rehab. It'll close in 7 days, and we can take that 15 grand, pay the 7 grand remaining, right? And all of a sudden the liquidity of my business really sped up because, back in 2012, I did 96 fix and flips, which if, well enough, it is hurting cats. It is very expensive on the front end. I mean, it's just a constant flow of money and contractors and budgets. And if you don't have liquidity to keep that up, it can take you down, right? And so for me, I started doing it kind of the harder way, raising private money, finding the deals that had enough money in there, finding the contracts, and then realize the simplicity in there's a lot of beauty in simplicity, right? Or elegance, right? In simplicity. And the simplicity behind wholesaling was so attractive on top of the cash flow, right? So, I mean, that's what I found, and that's why I started getting into the wholesaling world.
Absolutely. And I'll add on to that. Like I said, I came looking at, reached out to Justin, Sean, and Kent because my best scenario is for every 15 leads, every 20 leads I would go on, I would only convert one for my flipping business. And for me, in my mind, I'm like, I'm leaving money on the table somewhere. But to further up on Justin's point, absolutely. When there's a lot of ease when you're the middle, you're the transaction guy. You're not hurting people. You're not hurting money. You're not trying to put out fires all day with contractors and subs and this and that and the other. So there's the ease of mind, the liquidity that he said is absolutely spot on. It's but I'm not trying to but I don't want to come across that people shouldn't flip. I mean, it's
I was going to start asking you about your flipping business and how you run your flipping business, right? So where are you getting your leads? How have you structured it? Because you've structured a very impressive flipping business.
Well, I started like a lot of people at the courthouse. I think a lot of people that get to where they start doing 30, 40, 50 houses a year forget where they started.
Right.
So, I still go to the courthouse. I'll have someone on my team go to the courthouse. But I started out at the courthouse. I started I love
just the auctions, right? The courthouse steps.
Absolutely. The courthouse steps, the auctions. I'm sorry. And I love Justin's story. I didn't quite do it the way he did, but I pretty much did the same thing. Is I called every realtor that I could possibly talk to and said, "Let me meet for coffee." Just like Justin says, he realtor after realtor. It's amazing. Starbucks will give you free coffee all day. And it's so true. I just started making contacts with realtor. I made myself known. I said, hey, listen, just like Sean and everybody and Kent and Justin teach, network. I started networking like crazy. And once I started doing some deals, realtors would call me. I would get at the courthouse, auction websites. Once I started, and I'm not going to lie, I was on the job sites every day. I ran the jobs because I didn't have the money to, have the right team. And then I started building, it's like everybody teaches, you start replacing yourself. Yeah. And once you start replacing yourself with the right team, it, like Kent loves to say, it will attract. And it's very true.
Yeah.
You do good by your people, you do good work, and people will find you. The money will find you, the deals will find you.
No doubt.
But it was hard work. I'm not going to lie. But you just have to stick to it, create your systems and stick to your systems. And like I said, I started out just two at a time and started networking. And then, I just made sure that I still have those connections with realtors today.
So give the, for some of the maybe people trying to figure out how to fire their boss, get out of their job, right? And I have listeners that are making 7 figures a year. I have listeners who are trying to fire their boss and get out of their job, right? And I have everything in between. For that person, I want you to speak directly to that person because you went from the military into a very corporate environment, and then you were able to do enough to actually get out of the corporate environment and have your own business. What did that take? What was that transition from, your 40, 50 hours a week working IT to being able to say, hey, I'm out. Peace, right? I'm doing my thing. What was that like?
I think that is one of the hard, I must say. I used to jump out of airplanes and everything in the military. I've worked on data centers that, $1 million an hour if they were not up. Making that leap, I'm not going to lie, was one of the hardest moves in my career.
Yeah.
But I just put faith in myself. I tell you what, I had a really good support system. My wife was probably the best supporter, that said, you know what, you're smart enough, you work hard enough, it'll work. So I had a really good support system, and that's one of my biggest things is to tell everybody, don't doubt yourself, educate yourself, don't doubt yourself, and but don't, do it smartly. Don't just jump in and say, I'm going to make my millions this year. Right. Set your goals effectively and set them reasonably and work towards those goals. And you would be surprised when you set those goals, 9 times out of 10, you will meet them before you actually had set the timeline. Yeah. Which was kind of happened it's what happened for me. I told corporate America, I told my boss, I said, 30 days, I'm out. And I was nervous as hell, not going to lie. But you know what? And there's been ups and downs. But after the first year, I was rocking and rolling, man. Because you got to have the mindset that you're not going to fail. And you just got to be positive.
Have you heard of the book The Alchemist?
No, I have not.
Okay. So if you read The Alchemist, it's written in a parable. So it's written kind of like, the best way to say it is like the Bible, where the message is through the story. So it's like a novel. You read it like a novel, but it's a parable in terms that there's a lot of messages within that story. It's a great book. I mean, it is literally one of my favorite books ever. And I'm rereading it now for my 3rd time, and I write notes when I read. And 2 notes that you just brought up that I wanted to even say is echoed in that book is only one thing that makes a dream impossible to achieve, and that's the fear of failure. And when you burn your boats and quit your job, there is no failure. There is nowhere you are going to make it work, period, right? That's got to be the mentality. And then, the other ones are a little bit, but the next one I was going to say, our souls are God, or my soul is God's soul. My soul is the earth's soul. Meaning, if you follow your passion, if you go for it, it will come to you. Now, a lot of people, kind of like what you said, like you had a great support system, you went for it, and you had faith. That faith will get you there, but what a lot of people don't understand is it's always not necessarily on your time, right? A lot of people are like, I got to get my first check in 30 days. Oh my God. Okay. And people do that, right? People absolutely come out, quit their job for 30 days, they have their first check. It's awesome. But the reality is, if you just have that determination, if you have that faith, if it's in your heart that you want to make this work and you are not afraid of failure, it's going to work 100%, because the only way for it to fail is you to quit, right? And you're a shining example of that, right? You quit up. I mean, how much were you making in your IT job? You had probably a good 6-figure salary.
Absolutely. I went for, and that's, it's funny. I was just sharing my story with a realtor here in town the other day. Actually, what's today? So just 2 days ago. And I told him, I went from a 120 something a year job to literally my income of flipping houses, as you know, is not consistent, a check every 2 weeks.
Right.
So, you're totally right in the faith in yourself, because if you truly in your mind and your heart set your goals, and you are unwavering, that quote is so true. I mean, you.
Yo, bud. We got you. Well, looks like Jerry dropped off here. Hang tight, and we will get him back on the episode.